All right, so we here at what I feel is one of my favorite subjects, which is linking and aligning everything we do in data management to business goals, business drivers, business objectives, everything we do. And I can see a few people that attended my data strategy course. I think it was in uh, 2019. I wonder if Paul remembers. Paul, were you on the force? You on the first data strategy course? Um,
Yeah, that's 2020.
2020. Okay. And what I had done there was build a whole Power BI alignment and a visualization of the data strategy. Now, of course, I've kept on going with this, and I'm actually working with Transnet, TNPA, and helping them build a data strategy. But again, the first thing I like to do is start off with the business architecture. So here's a high level view of all of the elements in a business architecture. And I'm sure you are getting a little bit worried to say, jeepers, how much of this is here? What do we have to understand? How are all these things linked? And but the nice thing I'd like to share with you is that can you see here this data or information concepts is a critical part of the business architecture. And I think that's very important. It's a core concept of the business architecture. Now, if you don't get this right and you go along and you try to build something on your own, typically what you get is a data management strategy or a technology strategy and not a data strategy that's going to help you deliver on the business strategy and the business architecture. Okay, so these are the two books. This is the BizBook, which is the business architecture body of knowledge, and this is the DMBook, and we need to get them aligned. I know Paul has heard me say this quite often, is that if you don't have a clue about your business strategy, business architecture, I would actually suggest that you park your data strategy for a while until you got a better understanding of your business architecture. Okay. Now you may ask, well, how long is that going to take? Well, it can take some time, but uh, elements like the BizBook, they've actually got some reference models. Now, there's a warning there. Don't just take the reference model and make it your business architecture. It has to be applied in the context of your organization. Okay. So they've got five or six. They've got a common reference model. They've got a transport, a financial services, insurance, healthcare, government. And so you want to be able to choose the one that's as close to you and start working on it. Okay. So those are the two elements. Now, what I wanted to just share with you is today, as the data manager, we're going to be dealing with these topics. What are the principles and the core elements of business architecture? The management of the DMO, the data management office, or the EMI head, they need to know what they should be expecting from business architecture. What is it that we've got and what can we align to? Okay. I think it's very important, and the less you understand this, the more friction you're going to pick up with um, with the business architecture people, if they're currently working on it. Okay, then we'll deal with citizen next week, professional and executive. Then I also talk about alignment. How does business architecture align with enterprise architecture, with data architecture, with software development cycles, and solution architecture? So I just want to show the picture of how all of these things come together. Okay. And then I would also like to share with you just how do we measure the maturity of the business architecture? And of course, as data managers, you should be aware of what level is the current business architecture running at, and how do you get involved and how do you help them improve it? So those are the topics for this week. these ones over here as part of the data manager. And what I'd like to also do is talk to you about, well, as a data manager, what questions would you have of the business architecture team to understand how you fit in, where you fit in, and what you can get from them? So the first question I would ask is, as a data manager, what's my role in business architecture? Um, and I'm going to go through all of it, and then I'm going to come back and answer these questions. What do I need to align? How do I align? How do I know if we're not properly aligned? How do I integrate our data products with the business product thing? How can we support them? And how do we get our operating model from business architecture? And if you've ever done data management fundamentals, one of the things we talk about is setting up of an operating model. And a lot of the times I say, well, you should also be going to the business operating model to understand how they operate before you start making decisions on how you're going to operate. Okay. Now, I need to just share with you, it was about 2017, 2016, with one of my customers where I was working. I really didn't understand this relationship very well, and I was just about getting the DMBOK implemented. That's what my goal was, and we picked up lots of friction and lots of collisions with the enterprise architecture team. It was really rough. And we got hurt and we said bad things to each other. And I really feel bad about that time, but hopefully I can undo some of that and make sure that you don't experience a similar understanding or relationship. You need to be careful of this one. And it's interesting, someone made a comment about the revised edition of the DMBOK, and they actually changed the relationship between data governance and data architecture. Instead of uh, controlling and providing oversight, that's not, it's more about how do we get alignment with them rather than how do we control or provide oversight. It was almost like, how does the data management steering committee sign off the work or the artifacts of data architecture? Okay, so that is a challenge, and be careful of that, and let's get that relationship right. Okay, so I do believe that our business goals should be the drivers for data management. That's why we exist. We really are a capability within the business architecture. And if you look at my diagram on my Power BI, okay, there we can see that information management and transformation is one of the elements of the model, the business capability model. Okay, so if I just try to find it here, there's information management, and information management is drilled down. These are the different levels, and I'm going to give you all of those explanations. They break down into this type of scenario. Okay, so we are part of them, and we need to know what role we play as part of them, and we need to know how we help them build that capability. Okay, so let's take a step back, and please, I am using the BizBot as a way of explaining business architecture to you. I know there are many different frameworks out there. There's TOGAF, there's the Zachman one, there's all sorts of different areas, but I find that the BizBox has, similar to the DMBOK, it has a set of well-defined principles and definitions that I can use. Okay, and if you want to stop me, that would be great. Okay, so this was the old version of the BizBox. And can you see in the middle, they call it the core elements of the business architecture, and then they call it related elements that are on the outside. So the core elements hardly ever change, and they're made up of these four capabilities. Should we be capable of doing to deliver the value streams what does the organization look like, and what information we need to drive all of this. Okay, and that's where I feel that information, and can you see here, there's no such thing as applications. Okay, there's no such thing as technology in this situation. It's information, capabilities, values, and organization. Okay, and yes, TOGAF does align, and even the SFIA aligns as well. And yes, this session is being recorded, and we will put a LinkedIn post on that. So what I like about this is, can you see here that all of the Zachman, what, how, where, who, when, why, all the different motivations and different elements are part of the data, the business architecture. So there we can ask why. Why are we doing things? Well, the motivation comes in policies, regulations, visions, and then who is doing it? Organization deals with the who. Okay. And stakeholders are dealing with the who. Then we have what, and data is always part of the what. Information, products and services. But how nice is this? That they've also got metrics and measures, decisions and events, initiatives and projects. So we should be getting our dashboards and our KPIs. They should all be aligning to the business metrics, the business decisions, the business events, the data warehousing. And I always like to map myself into all of these different areas. Okay, so there's business architecture. Now, business architecture consists of a set of blueprints. One of the blueprints is a capability map. You can see the capabilities. We need to be able to manage business planning, manage the marketing, policies, investments, product management, power management. So the capabilities, as you can see, they sort of action items. And they action items on business objects. So there you can see agreement, asset, power, product. Those are your business objects or your business information. And can you see it there? There's my business information, and this is what we need to do. And then we have value streams. Now, I always like to turn this upside down to start off with what value do I need to produce? To do that, what capabilities am I required, and what information and data do we require? Okay, so that's the structure of BizBook. Okay, I'm hoping that if you have any questions, you'll put your hand up. And this is the journey that we follow. We have the inspiration to create a business. That inspiration should be documented and defined in a business vision. And of course, what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to get involved or be the number one in our environment or in our industry. So there's a competitive environment that we need to understand. Who are our competitors? How can we differentiate ourselves? What information and how do we relate? And there's typically benchmarks to those that in that industry. From this inspiration, we can extract a set of strategic objectives. What are our objectives? What are we trying to achieve? And then we go through a process of ideation, and we sort of build the strategy and the different maps. And from that, we get our action plans, initiatives, and plans that need to be implemented. Okay. So that's a high level from strategy to execution process. That's what we need to go through. Okay. All right. Now this is the meta model, and because we're all data people, what we're wanting to see is, well, what data can I get, and how do I relate to each other? So there's our information concept, and who can help me here? What is the high level data model that we will use to start this process? How do we start bringing out these information concepts? What's that really important model, the highest model that we have, that we can use to relate to capabilities, that we can relate to stakeholders, to value streams? Who who can who can take a guess? Some people shouldn't be. Any ideas? No ideas? Paul, can you help? Conceptual model. Okay. Yes, Wesley, it's part of that conceptual model. And that value chain, remember the architects create called the data value chain, which should be mapping to these value streams. But the real model that the simplest model is what we refer to as that subject area model. Okay, remember the subject area model breaks the conceptual model up. Remember that, Wesley? So yes, there's a conceptual model, but you can look at it in smaller areas, in groups of concepts, which are referred to as the subject areas. Okay. All right. Now, these are just some of the definitions. Now, we will be providing you with the slides at the end, so I'm not going to go through them all, but really the capability is just a quick one. It's the particular ability or capacity that a business must possess or exchange to achieve a specific purpose, to achieve a value proposition. And that's the one that's important to us, the value proposition. It's intended to make a company, product, or service attractive to customers. How are we going to attract our customers? How are they going? What is it that we're going to attract them with? And how are we going to generate money? Okay. And then we have the value stream, and these are the set of elements that we have in there. Okay. Now there are lots of these different elements. Okay, so when we talk about one value stream, we're really talking about for a specific stakeholder. This is one aspect that they want to provide for a specific customer, and there's our value stream that we get. Okay, so what are the principles of business architecture? First of all, it's business focused. Okay, we shouldn't be surprised about that. But it's basically everything to do with the business, and the scope is the entire ecosystem of the business. So it's all about your business processes, your business departments, your business units, the interaction, understanding the gaps and overlaps. That's how we look at the scope, and it should not be prescriptive. Okay, so we've got to be careful of trying to provide rigid templates that don't always fit into your business. Your business is different. So me giving you a fixed model and saying everybody should apply to this, well, that's not true always the case. Simple example. If I talk about customers, all right. Now, when we go into government, they don't like talking about customers because they're there to serve the people of the country, and they refer to as stakeholders. Okay. So we have to, in some cases, we almost need to change that term that we're dealing with dependent on the environment that we're in. It's iterative. We're constantly getting to more levels, going wider coverage, more scope. It should be reusable. So when you set up a business capability map, okay, you should be able to use it across all of the different business capabilities, the 1,834 that we have. Okay. And please remember, it's not just deliverables. So we're not just here to create a business strategy document or a capability map or an information map. We're here to understand how the business operates and help them make decisions and support those decisions. Okay. So we want to present it. So it's very important to have that visualization, understand how it's laid out, and we're going to show you some techniques of that layout to interpret it. Okay, so there's the business architecture. And typically the playbook is establish a strategy, understand the impact of that strategy on the organization, build a solution for that strategy, establish the initiatives and the plans, and then deploy the solutions. Okay, and it drills down into something like this. Okay, now where do we fit in? Okay, our use cases should come from business use cases. Okay, so whatever use cases we have and whatever impact and analysis we're having, that's part of your feasibility study. Okay, so when you build data management or data strategy use cases, they should align and need to align with your business objectives and your business use cases. Okay, And then we go into what's referred to as the data strategy and architecture. And can you see that? That's in that area over here, which they refer to as business-driven architecture definitions and relationships. Okay, so we're driving out the IT architecture, and data is one of those areas. Okay, and this is where our data strategy and use case definition comes in, and this is where our data products come in. That's how we connect these two together. Okay. All right. I feel like I feel like I'm losing you. I'm hoping just maybe a sense check. Is everyone following how you're going to fit the DMBOK into the BizBoK? Mohammed, I'm hoping you're enjoying it. I know you do a lot of data architecture and you're getting more involved in the business side as well. But this is how we need to connect. This is how we line up. Okay.
Howard,
All right.
just a quick one
Yes.
more here.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
Tina.
okay. Where does the information architecture now fit in all of this? Because I see you have, because there's this strange thing or a big thing about information architecture, which is an outlier. So where would you slot that in this case?
Okay. So what you will find is that information architecture in its current form, and I'll just give you a show over here. It's also under this content management and information management. There's an overlap there. So if you're referring to information architecture as the sort of unstructured side of it, am I correct in what you're saying there? Is that your understanding of information architecture?
No, and structured, because I thought information
Yes.
architecture is a spin-off of a lower level of your business architecture. Then the data is more on the physical side of things. That's how I'm viewing it.
Oh no, we see information and data architecture, and I'm going to get to it. There's actually a slide where we talk about it. So I will show you when we get to that alignment. Okay. All right. So we will be talking about that alignment. So let's then come into business architecture, and this is the area over here. This is business architecture and IT architecture alignment. We'll talk about it specifically over there. Okay. All right. So let's look at the core components. So we have foundational components, capabilities, organization, information, and value. Okay, so you're already getting a crossover between the data estate, the subject area model, and the business architecture. They refer to it as information concepts. Now, I'm going to show you at the end how this becomes a problem in aligning these two worlds. Okay, so just a quick example there. If you look at my Power BI, I went to go and get a business architecture for transport, and then I've got a data estate from Esri. The terms don't match each other. We don't have a subject area model mapping, and now I'm getting into all sorts of challenges bringing these two worlds together. And that was my first experience. So there you see their subject area model: environmental, maritime, pavement, property, rail, and security. And you'll see within the capability map, when we bring those concepts together, it looks something like that. So these are my primary areas, and they've got agreement and human resources and shipments and routes and things like that. And I'm going to show you how those align as well. Okay, but we need to talk the same language. Now, the areas on the other side, they refer to that as extended. They are a lot more dynamic than these internal ones. These views of capabilities, organizations, they represent the essence. They hardly ever change. And that's the best place to connect our data management to, is that information area over there. Okay. But of course, these extended areas, for example, products and policies and stakeholders, they change quite often. Okay. But they have relationships to the foundational areas. Okay, now this is what I built. You can see that Power BI model in the background. This is how I visualize it. It is too complex. This thing gets really complicated, and you want the ability to filter and understand the relationships between the different areas. So having a Power BI model is, for me, it's fantastic. And I can connect all the dots using something like this. So there you can see my value stream, my capability, my information model, and my stakeholder model over there. Okay, and these are all the blueprints and the mappings that we do in business architecture. We map the strategy to the capabilities and the organizations and the values. We map the products, we map the initiatives, all of these things. There's a process of mapping. So there's this continual mapping that's happening between the different components. Okay, so I like to start off with value mapping. What value am I producing? Even before we start with a strategy. Okay, what is the value that I'm going to give? Okay, and I'm sure if you've seen those business canvases or the business model canvas, there's a value proposition to your stakeholders. So start there. Then you'd look at what capabilities do I need to produce that value? Okay, what organizational structures do I require? What stakeholders do I need within that organization? What is the business strategy that we're going to take? How do I then build products on that? And then what are the initiatives that come out of that? Okay, there's your high level flow of the elements on a business architecture. Okay, so when we look at the business strategy, this is just a quick mapping. Okay, the strategy is a pattern or plan that's going to integrate the goals, the value propositions, with the action sequences. So we're going to map all of this stuff to action sequences into a cohesive whole. That's what the strategy is doing. It's creating a cohesive whole. And strategy is then developed in terms of it's executed using initiatives. Okay. And the balance scorecard is then the monitoring and the measurement of those strategic initiatives. Okay, just some principles. I'm not going to go through them all. I'll run out of time, but it's important to go through all of these areas and understand what we're trying to achieve. Now, here are some of the frameworks that you need to think about when you set up your business strategy. Okay, so there's Porter 5 Forces model, balance scorecard. I like to see this one, the Norton Kaplan strategy map. This is also the elements of a balance scorecard. And then we're going to look at the market. This is our competitive analysis. And my trusted one is my SWOT matrix that I have. But I use all of these capabilities within my SWOT matrix to understand my strengths. So are my capabilities, do we have strengths and weaknesses in these different areas, and specifically in the area of data when I build a data strategy? Okay, so those are the frameworks. You want to be able to choose one or two that you work with, and this is quite a nice Excel spreadsheet that you use to do all of the mapping. Okay, so once you've got your goals, what are the objectives? What initiatives do I have? And what are my performance indicators? And so we go round and round in terms of constantly refining, iterating, getting better, and improving what we do. Okay, so let's take a look at the top level, almost at the finance level. Remember, at the business, at the this area over here, the business scorecard. First of all, you start off with financials perspective, and then that drills down into customer, internal, and growth perspectives. So here's an example of objective mapping. We want to increase profits. No surprise there. That's what we're all about. Okay, now how do I do it? Well, we want to increase worldwide revenue and we want to reduce total cost of ownership. Now, please, data people, you want to know what these things are so that when you build your use cases and you want to justify your contribution to the business architecture, you want to map it to some of these objectives. It's a great hanger to put all of your data strategy and initiatives on. If they're building initiatives, we need to support the initiatives and we need to say, why are we doing it? So there's our strategic objectives. And these are all our related objectives, and they should collectively aggregate. You should be able to measure what fleet acquisition did in producing revenue and roll it up to those different levels. Okay, and this is what a value stream and a business capability map. There is the value stream. It needs to achieve the disposal profit. Okay, and there's the objective that I have. These are the capabilities and outcomes, and we can map all of it together. I'm hoping you can see here straight away that I've got a whole lot of business metrics, business dashboards, business warehouses that that I've already got a map of that I can start to produce. Okay, so as an example, I should have a data mart that explains to me the process of a vehicle asset disposal and how effective it was. Okay, now here you can see a breakdown, and I'm wanting to show you, here's a financial perspective, enhance the customer value. How do we do it from a customer level? Know your customer. Internal, have one view of the customer across an ecosystem. Technology, single source of truth. Who doesn't know what this is about? Okay, which data person doesn't understand that? Okay, human, retrain and consolidate. There is my reference data and master data management business case. That's what I need to connect to. When I show them that and I tell them how I'm going to help them do it, then they get excited. Then they start listening to us. Okay. There's your mapping that you need to do, and you need to look for them, work through them and look for them and find them. That becomes part of your initiative. And you're going to do an ideation session with the business to say, here you want to enhance the customer value. Let's talk about how we can do it and how we can help you. Okay. And once we have these things, then we start doing impact analysis, value stream, capability, initiative. These are all the things that we can impact. So we would then go, now look at this. There is my objective. Recognize the customer 100% of the time, regardless of contact point. What an amazing understanding that is of entity resolution. Master data will play a role in every single channel to be able to resolve the customer entity. There we go. Customer golden record and golden profile. What a great objective and business case that we have, especially when they've done some form of financial assessment about what value that's going to produce. Okay, pause. Can you just see here? I'm hoping you're starting to see that there's so much information in the business architecture that you are going to use and bring down into your data architecture, data governance, data strategy scenario. Are there any questions? Everyone's happy. That's fantastic. Yes, Wesley, I'm sure.
So in the situation perhaps where you have this business case and there's a value case linked to your objective in terms of maybe profitability, what do you do, or what have you encountered situations where you're expected to define your contribution to that value from a data perspective? So your initiative is going to help this 5% and contribute a 1 million cost saving or something like that. Have you encountered that? And how do you work with that?
Yes. So basically what we would then do is, just to give you a glimpse there, is we would say that this is what we are going to do. Okay, we are going to establish part of it. Now, please remember, we will set up this master data system, but the business will still be operating and running the business processes. So we will look at, when we build this data product, we would get an understanding of the value, and we will value the data product using data ROI and data office ROI valuation techniques, Wesley. And if you're interested, I can show you some webinars where we demonstrate those techniques and how to calculate them and exactly what you're talking about. One of the things we can also do is to be able to say, this value will be reduced if we are not able to recognize that customer 100% of the time. Okay, what's the cost of not recognizing them? Okay, and we will go after achieving that objective. Answer your question,
Thanks,
Wesley?
yeah.
Okay. Yes, Mohammed?
Yes, Howard. First of all, thank you so much for this amazing lecture presentation. It's actually a lot of information and a lot of very
Yes.
useful information that we need to practice actually. And I had a question, but actually you answered it, because I believe that by end of practicing business architecture, aligning it with data architecture, we have to provide a kind of an ROI, a data ROI.
Yes,
So why
yes.
we invested in data management, and why we are giving this value to the business according to the business objectives and the organization strategy. But there might be some resistance that, as usual, from the enterprise architecture and the business architecture, where also data governance would be in place, because no success for data management without data governance, as we all know. So
and I'm going
if you want to govern
this is a great point.
business architecture, it would be hard. Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to actually show you some of that as we go. So you're 100% correct, and that's almost what the session is today, Mohammed, is to say, data managers, how do you involve yourself in business architecture? How do you become part of it? Okay, you need to become part of it, and you almost need to take on the responsibility of that information model. You own it, you look after it, and information management capability, that's yours, and you will help them mature it. And I'm going to show you some of that a little bit later. Magella, yes.
Yes, Howard. Yes, I think you answered my comment. Is it's not, how can I say that? Not always we have, as the data manager, we have that information available to us. Okay.
Yes.
This information is kept at the high levels of the organizations. Okay.
Right.
And
right.
yes, it's quite difficult to get that information to align our job with the strategy, with the goals, with the all of the things of within the organization. This is my comment from my experience.
Yes, you're 100% correct, and that was my experience. I came into an organization and there was a well-developed enterprise architecture, and we started headbanging everything from defining the enterprise data model, because I asked where was it and it wasn't there, and they thought I was attacking them, and it didn't turn out well. So really go in there to help them. Go in there to say, this is my data estate. This is the way I see it. And this is how I can help with some of the business architecture. But I'm going to get there. So if you don't mind, let me try to get through here, and we're going to get to that area. Okay. All right. So here now we talk about the capability, and there is the fundamental. This is the capability that is required to deliver on that value stream. It's dependent on implementing these capabilities within the business units. Okay. And it requires information to drive itself, and it requires the strategy and policies. Okay. Now, can you see that information management is a level of every single capability within the organization? Okay, and this is just a industry model, and basically they require information management. Now you're there, data managers. If you put up your hand to deliver these capabilities, they are going to say, yes, please, give it. You can do it. Give me all of this. Give me the profile, the type, the state, and do it all. Where you need to be able to say is yes, it's yours and you own it, but we need to connect. We need to have a common vocabulary of all of these different areas. We do not need two vocabularies. And I'm going to show you a bit of a mess that I find and that I have to work on. Okay, capability is the linchpin. information management, data management, content management, you are part of it. You're a capability. Okay. Now, are you a level 1? Are you a strategic? That's what we're going to get to. Now, a capability instance could be found, for example, partner information management, maybe in multiple business units. And then you start saying, oh, shucks, we've got overlaps, we've got gaps, we're doing things differently. And how do we collectively bring it all together? Okay, how do we do it? And how do we help unify this world together? Now, please remember you're all part of the same stakeholders. So the stakeholders that business architecture have are the same stakeholders that the information management or data management is going to have. So you need to work together to get this right and enable the business unit to deliver what it needs. Okay, but what is great is information and data are there. They're the core element of business architecture. Okay, you have a place to play. You have a role in the foundation, not applications, not technology, not AI, not any of the stuff. This is data, and data information as we see it. Okay, so benefits of capabilities there, they start off with common vocabularies, common way of identifying business processes. Focus. This is what you have to do, that laser-like focus that helps you get the right business requirements. Okay, so if you want to develop something, it's okay, what capability are we setting up? What are the requirements for the capability? And how do we bring it down into our data systems? Okay, transformational design. So if we are helping the organization transform, we part of that business strategy. That's our goal. We want to be able to get there. Okay, the guidelines of setting up capabilities. I love this. It's the what, not the how. Okay, it's not the business processes. That's the how. It's business centric. It's a pure business view. Whether the capability is automated by digital decisioning or whatever it is, it's still a business capability. It never goes away. It's unique and stable. Okay, this thing hardly changes. It's mutually exclusive, it doesn't overlap, and it doesn't have any gaps. It's composite in terms of the parents roll-up, it's framed by parents, it focuses on outcomes. It must be clearly defined, tangible or intangible. Okay, one for all and standalone. So this is almost your anchor point that you can connect things to. Now it does happen where we have these strategies by business departments, and now we have multiples, and that's where it gets tricky. Okay, so not going to go too much in there, but I'm hoping you can see that a lot of the definitions in that are helping us from a data and information point of view as well. It's all about the business object. What am I doing to a business object? Okay, so that's great news for us. And then you can stratify the capability model: strategic direction, core, customer facing, and supporting. There's information management as a supporting capability. A must-have function. A must-have function, not an optional, a must-have function. So you do have a role to play. There's your area that you're sitting in. Okay, this is the heat map. I love this heat map. I try to use it as often as possible. Where is the business hurting? Can I help? Okay, and this is sort of what you want to get. There's your capabilities at the different levels. What state are all these ones in? Can I use this one to help them improve it? I will build my own heat map of data to say, what's the data like for partner profiles? What's the data like for partner preferences? I'm hoping you can see that. Paul, I'm going to take a break here. I'm hoping you also see how this whole thing fits together. I'm sure you've done it many times before. Have you seen how these things all roll up into the business architecture?
Yes, thanks, Howard. Sure.
Okay. Any comments from your side?
No, just also synthesize. I'm just taking it all in actually, because as you know, I'm busy with that business strategy.
Okay.
Just yeah, I learned. Thank you for this. I'm just stumped. So much good stuff here. Jeez.
Cool.
Trying to just connect the dots from what I know. Thanks.
Yep. Okay, organizational mapping. That's taking the business strategy, mapping it to the operating model, and then building a business model. And that's what we do with our data strategy. We have the data strategy, and that says, well, is the operating model right for the data strategy? And does it work in the business model level as well? So what is an operating model? It's hard to find a definition. It's basically an abstract representation of how an organization operates across a range of domains in order to accomplish its function. Okay, that's the high level definition of that. And there are 4 or 5 different frameworks for building operating models. Please, before you build your data operating model, make sure you understand the business one and what is the framework and how do I use it. So we could either go off with MIT, which is coordination, unification, diversification, and replication. Or we go with Bain's, structure, accountability, governance. There you go, Mohammed. Governance is all over this place. Capabilities and ways of work. And then we have an operating model canvas. And I'll share some of the details with you later on. So here we go. We start designing our operating model and what is it that we need to be able to do. Now, the nice thing about this is that all of these architecture concepts must map into a business operating standard procedure, a process, a SOP. Okay, something has to do there. So there we see we have all of these mappings, value proposition to a customer segment. This is our operational customer segment. What's the value aid? What's the value stream? The operational organization, people and technology. Governance, accountability, and operating policy and processes. That's what we're getting into as part of our operating model. That's what we need to produce. Please also remember that there's an as is. And then what we'll do is to say, oh, well, that's understandable, but now we're battling and we've got some challenges here. They're not red, but we've got some challenges, and we want to design a to be or a target operating model. And that's what the definition of the target operating model looks like. So we want to merge the different groups across the different business units. We want to improve IT collaboration, enhance our governance. That's what we're aiming to do. Okay, maturity model. I'm going to go through it quickly. Okay, very similar to that of a data management model. It's got the 5 levels. These are the categories. You're going to take some time to do it. There's our different 5-level definition. We're after getting to defined right in the beginning. Let's all work like crazy to get to the defined area. And then what is the value of different levels of maturity? And this is certainly important, is how do we assess the value of what we're doing and maturing our practice? Because we know that as we produce more value, they're going to be keener on increasing our maturity. So maturity increases value, which then increases maturity. Now, it's not that easy. It would be nice to be able to say, okay, as I increase maturity, I will increase my value. But we know that doesn't happen. Look at the data management. If we are very compliant and our maturity is very high, sometimes we are producing 0 business value. We're in the ivory tower situation, or we can be looking at lots of value but not maturity. So we can't sustain it. We can't repeat it. So we have to be careful of where we're at, and we want to be able to plot our way to this midpoint where it's repeatable, sustainable, scalable, and business is getting the value out of this situation. Paul, I don't know if you remember, and this brings back memories of what we spoke about with data management having too much compliance or too much value and no governance. Where are we in these quadrants? And we need to be careful of that situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way I see it is we're getting our information right to the defined level. Then our next level is focusing on strategic information. And then our next one is getting all of the things working together, business process, information, and systems. So there's the sort of levels that you're driving up and you're wanting to get data, business architecture maturity. Okay, so here we go. For every single initiative, we want to understand what our business performance ratings are. And there I've got an Excel spreadsheet to help you with that. And you need to know, well, what is your unstructured and your structured data management? And you need to be able to link into these performance ratings. I promise you, business architecture are not going to complain when you say, I am happy to take on that responsibility. Okay, that's my area. Okay, then just a quick alignment session. These are the different domains. Okay, Dino, so this is where we're talking about the high-level domains is application, data / information, technical, and shadow systems. Okay, all right. And a solution architecture is one that brings all of these together and delivers the solution. Okay, that's the one that implements the solutions, bringing all of the different areas together in this scenario. Okay, so that's the way I see it. I don't call it an information architecture. We refer to it as a data architecture, but it is part of the IT architecture. Okay, now let's these just quick scenarios. Application system. What are we there to do? Well, we want to automate the business capabilities and provide a level of automation, not complete automation, but we want to improve the efficiency of it. Now, here you can see is the legacy applications are still working on an old understanding of the business, and now that thing's holding us back in a way. Okay, so we have to make sure that our application is reusable. It can automate the services. It can be used across any of the channels, not just one channel that we want to work on, and we want to get workflow and case management externalized. This is our data architecture. This is the centerpiece of the alignment. Okay. Information is part of the business architecture, and data architecture is the one that needs to produce that. My interesting thing, technical architecture, it's just the wiring and plumbing that IT will use to implement. Okay, IT uses technology to implement. IT doesn't use technology to drive the business. Okay. All right, so there are the different aspects that we have, the different concepts. And importantly, this is the mapping where we have business architecture on top. This is enterprise architecture, application, business data architecture, and technology architecture with solution, bringing them all together. I prefer to see it this way. So that's what that's what I see as the information architecture, is all of that together. Danea, is that make sense to you?
Happy with that. I thought I was going crazy, but this is sort of aligned to my view. Thanks.
Fantastic. Okay, so can you see information is a core element of the business architecture? We need to be part of that, and we need to link it together. We're not separated from business architecture. Please don't separate yourself. Get yourself ingrained in that. Okay, so as the summary, I'm a little bit late. I apologize for that. We've spoken about the principles and the core elements. Remember the fundamental and the extended components. We've spoken about alignment. Okay. We've spoken about the maturity model. These are important elements to understand as a data manager. Okay, now let's talk about those questions. Okay, so as a data manager, what's my role? Okay, so you need to be part of enabling the business strategy action plan. Okay, your data strategy use cases are linked to business strategy. You're there to uplift the information management of the organization. Okay, your business glossary is a lot wider than the capability business glossary, but your data needs to be aligned. You cannot have an information model in business architecture and a data model, and they're different. It's a minefield and it's a mission. Okay, ensure that strategic information concepts are critical data, and then mature the information management capability. So we wanting to make all of the information capabilities green. Okay, we're trying to make them green in that heat map. But the nice thing about it is when we see red, we must go and say, well, this is red, and what is our involvement in the red? What can we do to get that resolved? What do I need to align? Well, I need to align my enterprise data model. I need to align my data strategy. I need to align my data management operating model. My DMMA model should feed into the business maturity model. Okay. And the data management measurement should align to the business measurement. Okay. That performance measurement, we should be aligning those together. How do I know if we're not aligned? Friction, head banging with enterprise architecture in a big way. There you're always at loggerheads with each other. Okay. Low maturity assessment for the information management capability. If you're bad at information, if you go there and look at what they perceive information management to be and it's red all over, you're going to be in trouble. Paul, I wonder if you remember one of the big reasons that we were called in to a customer in Saudi, they had a ruling from enterprise architecture to say that information management was a problem, and specifically information governance. Do you remember those findings that they had in enterprise architecture, Paul?
Yeah. Yes,
maybe he's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That was a big one. That was a big
yeah.
And everything we did was we lined it up to that. This is why we're here, guys. We're there because you told us that we're bad. We're coming here to get ourselves sorted out.
100%,
okay.
Yeah. Sure.
How do I integrate data products? I use the product map on the business products. Okay, my data product is a product. Okay, it belongs to the product line and it belongs to a product family. Okay. How do I get my operating model? Okay, so all of the capabilities are mapped to the organization by the business architecture. So wherever they've done the mapping, I need to be able to say, okay, what mapping have you done? Where do you find all of this? Where is it across the organization? Okay, then what I do is I take a lot of times you just saw level 3 and level 4. I take the DMBOK and I extend it to 5 and 6. Each knowledge area is a capability. Okay. And then the chapters within the knowledge areas are lower capabilities. For example, data governance. It's made up of data handling ethics, DMMA, organizational roles, organizational change. So there you've got level 4 as data governance, 5 and 6 coming down at lower levels than you have in these areas over here. Okay. How can we support business architecture? Well, we should have answered all of the previous questions, and then we know we are supporting business architecture. Okay, that's it for today. Are there any further questions, anything that you would like to discuss and understand?
Please repeat.
Yeah. We're going to repeat. We're basically going to do it again, Paul, when we look at, if we go back to this, so we're going to do it again for data citizens, professionals, data executives. We're going to go back. And
Awesome.
So I just want to go, if you look at these ones over here, can you see here, when we talk about the citizen, we're going to talk about industry reference models. I'm going to show you the transport reference model. And then we're going to talk about all the principles and the information and the technology and the applications. And then we're going to do it as a professional. What is the meta model? What does the glossary look like? How do we build a subject area model? How do we align the data strategy? And then the executives are, how do we look at our value mapping? Okay. How do we performance analysis? And then what are the trends? So, Paul, I'm hoping by the end of this, we'll go and repeat it at different levels, of course.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you.
In awesome. The 4 weeks. Okay.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. Okay, so what we do, we actually have a very summarized version in data architecture. We summarize the business architecture. I think it's about 4 or 5 slides, and lots of times when I do it, people ask me, why are you doing this? Why are you telling me everything about business architecture? All I wanted to know was data architecture. And I have to say to them, well, unfortunately, I can't talk data architecture without talking business architecture. It just doesn't make any sense. Okay. And so we have a how to plan, which is our data architecture, and we go through a lot of this in that scenario over there. Bajora, does that answer your question? So all these topics are not covered in the CDMP because you're really not going to ask them in terms of certification. But when you get to data architecture, we believe that you need to understand the fundamentals of building those strategies, and even in our data governance, where we build a data strategy, I show you that this is what are the capabilities or the business architecture, what are the capabilities, what is the information model, and how do we improve it and how do we help it. So I do link it together, but not directly. All right. Yes. Dmisa.
Yeah, hi, Howard. Yeah.
How are you doing?
I just want to understand who, yeah, I'm good, thanks. So
Good,
I just want to understand who drives the business architecture in the organization. I work for a very small insurance firm, and I'm responsible for data and all things to do with data. So if we don't have this capability or competence, what can I do at a minimum?
Okay, so
to bring it to the fore?
That's great. So what I would do is do you have an enterprise architecture department, Demisa?
Yes.
Okay, so you would go to them and say, please help me understand. I expect, and you can look at TOGAF. TOGAF's a great one. TOGAF says you should have business architecture, data architecture, application architecture, and technology architecture. So you would say, I expect, am I right in saying that these four should be part of your domain? You're the responsible party. And they say, yes, yes, yes. And then you say, okay, great. Tell me where the business architecture is. Okay. And that's the way I would start it.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Fantastic. But when you say a minimum, so let's say the answer is we don't have it. Here's my recommendation. Okay, first of all, do a quick review of BizBot, which is hoping what I'm going to do for you. Then you would go and take the industry reference model, and then you're going to build your own and use that as a starter model. Okay. So basically, the insurance reference model is a kickstart to you, and you'll use that as an area. But make sure at the same time you bring the insurance industry data model together, so that you're getting the right information model there as you build it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that's much clearer. Just maybe to double check, at established enterprises, these would fall under enterprise architecture, the business architecture.
Yes,
100%, okay.
100%. TOGAF, you just show them TOGAF, and there it is, core element, business architecture, and everything should start at the business architecture.
Okay, thanks, Howard.
Okay. Now, Baraja, I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to say your name. We can show you how to get fundamental data architecture, Paul. I'm wondering if you're there, if you could contact and if you could give us your email, we'll share these details with you. Okay.
Or
Yes.
hello? Yes.
Yes.
I'm wondering if TOGAF as a framework is still used, broadly used.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yes.
Most of your enterprise architect certified is TOGAF. TOGAF is your main enterprise architecture certification.
Yes, I had a training on TOGAF, but it's quite difficult to understand.
Yeah.
It's not easy. And now I understand a little bit more about the business and business architecture, because it's not easy. It's simple, no?
Yeah.
As a framework. Yes. Thank you.
That's a pleasure. Yes, TOGAF, TOGAF and Zachman, those are the two ones that we normally talk about. But BizBark is from the Business Architecture Guild. I'm a member of that, so I get a lot of their material. I pay a yearly subscription and I work through that. They also have a certification. But certainly when I talk to most enterprise architecture departments, it's TOGAF. I don't know anybody else, if anybody else has a different view on that. That's my generic common understanding. Fantastic. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I didn't get the certification. I just took the training, but because I was, I didn't understand very well the framework. I couldn't take the test for the certification. It's quite like it's not just answer questions, okay?
And what I find is, Magella, it's the TOGAF is quite different to that of a body of knowledge. So what you're doing is you're coming straight into all the processes and procedures and things that you need to do, and you're following recipes and things like that. But sometimes you're not sure why and what you're doing. So that's why I like going to stabilize my understanding of business architecture using the body of knowledge. But again, it's just a high level. Now you've got to make it work, and you've got to test and get your competency level up. Veronica, anything from your side? Did this help you explain business architecture?
It definitely did. I learned so much. Thanks.
Nice. Okay, great. Okay, thanks everybody. So we'll see you next Thursday for the Data Citizen industry reference model. That's all about the different industries. What can I get? What should we look at? Where's the helpful starting point? How do I contribute? Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Cheers, everybody. Elio.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Howard. Bye.
Elio, how are you doing? Is it good?
Bye. Good, very good. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right. I'm sure you saw a lot of those different education things that we run. I'm not sure if you have an understanding of what sort of education you're looking to provide, and how do you ramp up and get your people certified?
Well, right now we are preparing using this course that every week review a chapter of the DIM book, okay?
Yes.
And we are check different question and answer CDMP, and we found some question and answer, and we contribute with the community from the DAM Ecuador to show some type of the question and answer for practice now. In our case, it's a little more difficult because we need to translate the Spanish to English now, and the exam is in English, and this is a little more difficult, and we try to show to the people the question and answer in English. And for this reason, I think that this type of the event is good for us, because we need to practice English principle, because the CDM certification is in English. Okay. Yeah. And we try to explain the meaning of the every chapter, but we try to practice with the people using the CDMP question and answer that found.
Okay. Now, do you have someone that is certified, that has been through it all, that's helping you?
Yeah, well, yes, some people in the community had a certified, but this the community has only 4 years, or from the is a very tiny in this moment too, and we tried. We have the objective. Increase the people that have certified this in this moment, in this year. We will prepare an event, Dama Day, using, for example, and take the the pay if you pass.
Yes, pay if you pass. Yeah.
Yes, in August, for try to the majority of the people approve this.
Okay.
Almost fundamental certified. No?
Okay. Elio, what we are doing is every month that we run those courses, we try to allocate 1 or 2 slots that are for people like yourself that are in areas that are battling. So maybe if you can afford to take some time off, would that be possible?
Okay, excellent. Well, this time is good for us because this is 10 a.m. or near to the 10:23. I check the CDMP, the webinar CDMP question and answer, but
yes,
it's complicated because for us it's 3 a.m. and
yes,
is possible is considering other or use this type of the webinar in these hours. For us, for try to know more is very interesting for us. This is my first time, and I try to I'm going to talk with the people in Dama, Ecuador or try to include the other people too.
Okay, fantastic. So if you I know it's hard, but we have had people on the in California and in Calgary that have done one of our courses. For a group, we are willing to also do it at your time zone, so that we can deliver the training.
It's near. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, but there's Paul Bolton over here. Paul, I don't know if you want to put your video on.
Hi.
Can I introduce you to Elio? Paul is working with Dama Benelux and Dama San Francisco to help them with the training. So we've got quite a bit of experience there in terms of just helping people. And Paul, I was thinking, maybe we provide a slot for Elio if he can. The session is from the 3rd of June to the 6th of June, Elio.
Okay.
I know you have to wake up early, but maybe we can sponsor you in terms of doing the course and at least getting through it all. So you've got and you've been through it and you've done quite a bit of the quizzes and that.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'll Ilya, I've got your I took your email, it's on your profile here, so I've got your email address. I'll send you a meeting invite, and we take it from there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And
So you'll
Elio,
get a
as
meeting
one of
invite
the
for
things,
oh, sorry.
one of the things I wanted to share that is, you know, we also looking to, we did a lot of training in Saudi Arabia, and we understand that having a person, a local person presenting it is also very helpful and very important. So we are also helpful. We're also keen to maybe set up a partner relationship with you where you could provide training. The thing about that is that you need to be a master. We are becoming DAMA REP, which is the education provider, and then you can use the material. I know it's in English. I don't know how you overcome that, but what we did in Saudi is the course was in English, but they presented in Spanish, in Arabic. They spoke in Arabic, but the course notes were in English because, you know.
Okay.
So yeah, lots to consider there. I was just going to say you'll get two invites. Elio's a calendar invite, and also to our learning platform where you've got access. You'll have during the course access to the quizzes and the course notes and all of that. Okay.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Excellent. I'm going to talk with my team about this alternative too, and I appreciate your help for us.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Great.
Take care.
Thanks, Elio.
Bye-bye.
Bye.